Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about the future and how as you grow older you start to lose track of what's going on in the now, and it starts to become a little bit overwhelming with regards to what's going on. Now, I'm obviously not an old person, right? But I've never really been very good at keeping up with the times. I've never been good at keeping up with the new technology. I didn't get a smartphone until 2016. And that was only so that I could text one person, like WhatsApp text one person. If it hadn't been for that, I might not have got a smartphone for another 3 years after that. And I remember when I got the smartphone, I really didn't want it. I felt like I was giving in to this larger, quite evil entity, this evil presence that seems to infest and infect everybody. Because you go on the train and whatever, and you see everybody out there is on the train is kind of like this, you know, just scrolling through endless feeds and so on and so forth. And you know, I did all that on the computer, but I didn't want to have the ability to access that whenever I wanted. And obviously I could have gone for one of those sort of smart/dumb phones, or I could have like gone through all the settings and turned off all the internet, but you don't really do that. Like, I've done all sorts. At the moment I keep my phone in French time. I'm obviously not in France, right? But I use my phone 1 hour ahead. So I keep it on French time, right? And the reason that I do that is that it kind of forces my brain to go to bed a little bit earlier, and it forces my body clock to be a little bit out of sync with what it should be, because otherwise I'm a total night owl. So it's kind of killing an hour at the end point of the day and adding one at the beginning point of the day. So for me that kind of works. Before that I had a long phase where I had the phone in black and white, because obviously all the apps and stuff on your phone, they all have big bright colors. It's the same reason McDonald's has big red and big yellow letters, right? Because the really bright, high contrast, highly saturated colors really draw you in. The same way that your eyes are probably being drawn to the buses right there. Actually, I'm not going to point, because your eyes are naturally being drawn to the buses that are behind me, because they're brightly colored and they're distinct. That's why advertising works so well, is because it's distinctive in a world of gray. It's color in, you know, amidst all the sepia tone sort of stuff. And it's useful in regards to what the company needs for their own sake of profit and revenue and so on. It clearly works on an analytical and engagement point of view. But for your own mental well-being, I feel like you should try and shut out as much of this stuff as possible. And with regards to shutting it out, that kind of entails not keeping up with the times. But at the same time, you can't not keep up with the times, because then you end up getting further and further removed from reality as it kind of is. And it's important to try and stay grounded in the world that you've got around you. Like, I don't know if any of you have got a friend who's like way more into tech than you, and it feels like whenever you go to see them, it's like they're living in the future and they've always got some new bit of tech to show you. I've got a couple of friends that are kind of like that. I remember I went to one of their houses and he brought out a VR headset, right? And I kind of thought, oh, okay, I'll give VR a go. I wasn't expecting much out of it. So I stuck the VR on, and it put me through this sort of I think it was the metaverse thing, right? So I put it on, and the metaverse, whoosh, like that. And it was like being in, what's the film? Ready, Set, Kill, Ready, Set, Go. The Steven Spielberg thing where it's all about the lads that live in the video game, right? It was all kind of feeling like that. And then he made me play this game where I played some kind of gorilla, and basically how it worked is I had to kind of do that, boom, wa-boom, to kind of move around, right? And sort of bounce and hop from spot to spot. And I was wandering around, and it was all these kind of PS1 kind of graphics, and I was like, okay, I can get behind this. And then this random kid just came screeching up to me. I scream, right? And he just starts teaching me how to play the game. And I'm kind of like, look, honestly, I am not the person that you want to be doing this to. I am a lost cause, right? I haven't really progressed past 2015. I feel like the last innovation that I really need in my life was Google Drive. Google Drive has been really useful for me. I back so much stuff on that. I've got like a few different Google accounts, and I use them for different things. Some to store music, some to store old bits of video, some to store like stuff that I'm going to send to clients, etc., etc. And it's useful in that regard. The cloud sharing thing is a godsend, because the alternative would be having to send mail USBs or external hard drives and stuff, and that would require, one, I have to buy the hard drives, two, I've got to pay for the shipping, and three, I've got to wait. And honestly, fuck all of that. So, you know, technology is good and technology is useful, and I want to try and keep up with the times, but I think it's important to not allow the extreme amount of new things that are going on, because if you allow yourself to be immersed in the new, right? There's always a new thing coming out. There's a new PS5 coming out, PS5 Pro. It might already be out, I'm not sure. There's a new Xbox coming out. There's a like Switch 2, I think that's out. There's like new Mario games, and getting away from video games for a sec. There's all the VR, and then there's all the Oculus stuff, and then there's that like Elon Musk chip in the brain thing. I think he's been starting on that. There's all the going up to the moon, like all the SpaceX stuff. There's so much stuff. There's, you know, the upgrades with regards to cars, you know, electric cars and then hybrids, and they're getting more and more efficient and all this sort of stuff. There's so much going on in terms of progress. The cost of solar panels has just is plummeted. And there's so much going on that if you were to take someone from the year 2000 and plonk them in this world now with all of these fucking things, yeah, sure, they might have a bit of experience with a Motorola or like a Sony Xperia, although that was slightly after the year 2000. You know, they have a little bit of experience with mobile phones and stuff, but you bring one of these fuckers out to them, they're not going to know what to do. Right? They're not going to understand Facebook. Like, yeah, sure, they might have had, I think even MySpace wasn't around then, but you know, they vaguely had a sense through AOL and stuff like that of the ideas of what social media could do. But seeing the overwhelming innovation that has come from the social media landscape, I mean, look at the way that communities come together all across the world on platforms like TikTok, when you've got like those TikTok lives and all that kind of stuff. You've got live streamers on Twitch that people gravitate towards, and it's like their comfort thing, and they go to that live streamer again and again and again, and they form little communities and they make friends with one another. And you know, I've heard of people that have gotten married that originally met on the internet. I've known a couple couples that met on Tinder. I've met a couple people that have met like originally just texting on Discord and stuff like that, and then they came together in real life and they found that they really liked each other's company, and then they shifted from an online relationship, not as in like necessarily a romantic relationship, but just a relationship in general of like how you might have a relationship with anybody, even an acquaintance. They've gone from that to an in real life one. Now personally, I will always say that an in real life relationship is vastly superior to an online relationship, but that's not to say that online relationships don't have their own intrigues to them. Partly what's so amazing is that I can just talk to anybody across the world. I know a couple people at the moment from this channel who got in touch. They live in Tokyo, and we've kind of been talking and had a couple like Discord calls and stuff like that. And it's really cool to hear about the Tokyo sort of world because it's so vastly different from mine, and seeing it from their perspective, because they're just a guy on the ground the way that I'm a guy on the ground in London. You know, and all they might see of London is, you know, various influencers hanging around, you know, Westminster or Abbey Road or whatever, and they only see that. They don't see the real London that I see. So I can sort of put my experiences towards them, and they can put their experiences towards me. And I feel like for a collectivization of the human race, the internet is quite a good thing. But I feel like as we progress into the future, things are only going to get faster and faster with the advent of AI, with the advent of VR, with the advent of all these weird new technologies and like mechanoid robots and stuff that are all like automating the industrial processes and stuff like that. We're going to have to figure out something with regards to how we're going to keep everyone employed and in work and all that sort of stuff. You know, because obviously we know we've had various industrial revolutions or enlightenments before, and we managed to overcome them, but this is kind of a bit different because of just the sheer scale of it. But then the Industrial Revolution was a massive scale shift, and we managed to overcome that. So there's so many different questions that go into what the future is. It's such an uncertain thing. The past is more or less certain. All we can disagree on is like, did this happen or did this happen? But at some point, one of those things did happen. There is a fixed reality of history, the same way there's a fixed reality of the present. There is no fixed reality with regards to the future. The future is whatever we can make of it. And as a human race, we're doing a hell of a lot more than you could ever fully realize, because you ever get the science and technology recommendations on your phone, and or like the new, like, I don't know, the new iPhone news, and like you see what the new phones can do. Most phones don't look like this, with cracks all around the side, and like it's kind of thick, and it's got a headphone jack in it, which actually is quite useful. But you know what? Look at it. Look at the size of that camera. These cameras are tiny, but we're managing to make such interesting technology out of this, and the technology of camera equipment in general is just progressing and progressing and progressing. It's democratizing the film industry, and it's democratizing the way that we can create, and now just any old jack-off can just make whatever they want, hence this video. So there's so much going on with regards to what we can do with ourselves going forwards. But think about this, right? At some point, if you're not already, you're going to be an old person, right? You're not going to be the hip new thing. Something else will be the hip new thing. What's the Grandpa Simpson thing of like, I used to be with it, but then they changed what it is, and then I wasn't with it. And then what was it was weird and scary to me. I completely butchered the quote, but it's that kind of thing. And I feel like you're going to have to semi-embrace that. You're going to have to be comfortable with your position in the past, but at the same time, don't block off news from the future, as in what's going to happen. Don't stop thinking about where the world could go. And I feel like as a human species in general, we should be really looking at the development of our species and our society on a more long-term level. Like, you never hear of anyone seriously talking about what the world will be like in 2200. It's just kind of like ooh, there'll be flying cars, ooh, there'll be like giant skyscrapers, ooh, we'll be a spacefaring like society. We don't know that for a fact, but what can we do to try and get ourselves to those cornerstones when we're at the moment relying on, say, fossil fuels that are going to run out at a certain point, when we're relying on non-renewables and all these sort of things? How are we going to make that transition towards a future? And I don't want to turn this into like ooh, you need to invest in green energy sort of thing. I'm just sort of saying that you need to prepare for the future so that you can prepare to be complacent with your position in the present, as in the present now. You in the future needs to be complacent with where they are in that present, and they also need to have their same connection to the past. Like, obviously, if you're 50 years old, you've got like a deep connection to like 30 years ago, because that was you when you were like quite young and learning the world that's around you, and you're developing and growing and all that stuff. And now you're taking the lessons that you learned from your youth and applying them to your life as a more matured sort of individual. And then going forward, if you're like 70 or 80 or 90, that's when you're kind of trying to figure out your place in a world that has moved past you. Because say someone that's 90 right now, they were born in 1934, so they would have been turning 18 in 1952. Now, I can't really imagine what 1952 was like, because it's such a vastly different system in general. Like, obviously you have the basics. You've got, you know, your house, and then you leave your house to go to the shop, but then they wouldn't have gone to Sainsbury's or Lidl. They would have gone to the butchers and the bakers and all of these sort of things, and the, you know, that kind of thing. And that's such a different world that when you grow into the 2010s and the 2020s, you're kind of looking at it kind of going, Jesus Christ, smartphones, Sainsbury's, this all feels so weird and foreign to me. And in the year 2080, when I'm 80 years old, it's all going to be the same for me, and I'm going to have to try and adjust to a world that has moved past me, and I'm going to have to try and get used to teleportation devices, or I don't know, chips in the brain, or I don't know, taking a holiday to fucking Mars or Venus or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. We might not even get to that point. We might blow ourselves up in nuclear Armageddon. I'm not sure, because we can't be certain about the future. I mean, isn't the doomsday clock like apparently 40 seconds to midnight? And like, we're all just kind of going along, just driving up and down the road, just like nothing's bothering us. And I mean, driving is one of the most dangerous things you can do. I mean, I remember I was walking through an estate, and there was like an Ocado van, right? It's some like shopping delivery thing that delivers your food for posh people, right? And there was this over sort of drive-through bit like that was like 2 meters tall, and this van just stormed straight through it. It obviously underestimated its height, right? And it slammed straight into it. And I remember seeing that, and it all happened so quickly, and it wasn't like it was a bad crash or anything. I mean, the guy stepped out and he was a bit like, oh my God. And I presume he got fired and maybe like had to pay some money out or whatever. But anyway, I was walking around and I was just looking at all the cars, and I was on the pavement, and I was just thinking at any moment one of them like could just decide to do this and just kill me right like that. And we're all just going up and down like this is normal, you know. And by the same token, we've got nuclear weapons all over the place, and we're just like acting like that's whatever, really. And you know, with the advent of AI, we can program new diseases apparently, and that's fun. So we've got a lot of quite negative things to look forward to in the future, but we've also got a lot of positive things to look forward to in terms of the technology that's going to come around and how we can make use of it. I mean, like, now I've got the smartphone, I'm getting used to it. I kind of like it. It's nice being able to sit on YouTube whenever I want. It's nice being able to check my emails whenever I want. It's nice being able to, I don't know, just scroll through Reddit when I'm waiting for the bus or whatever. It's nice to do these things, but I don't know. part of me feels like I didn't grow past 2015 in terms of, that's when I stopped bothering, checking out the new stuff, right? In terms of technology and the new advents of whatever, right? For me, Google Drive happened, I'm content, right? I don't need anything else. So, but I can't think like that in the long term, because at some point that would mean, like, the equivalent would be, say if it was the year 2040, it would be like someone like me now still using pages and fax. So I can't keep up doing that. At some point I do need to progress and keep up and update my understanding of technology to the new norm, and I have to do that a few times across the span of my life, so that I just stay, like, it's the same way that someone who's 90 gets a smartphone, right? If I was 90 and I was getting a smartphone, it would terrify me. Like, the idea of just pressing the screen, a bit of glass, and a thing updates, like, that's, to me, is just that would be alien technology. I wouldn't be able to get my head around. I wouldn't be able to get my head around the idea that there's just millions of people out there making content on some website called YouTube or TikTok or Twitter or whatever, right? And I can just play it and it just looks like real life in full HD or 4K on this tiny little screen that's that thick. I wouldn't know how to cope with that. That'd be really, really, really weird. And, you know, I can just sit here and just kind of wander through my phone and just kind of scroll up and down and go, oh, yep, okay, blah, 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 okay, bored. And then you get bored and complacent with this new technology, and at some point there's going to be crazy things that, you know, like the smartphone to someone living in 1960 is a major development. That's like science fiction. That's more than science fiction, because you look at the science fiction then, they've all got like big CRT TV screens, and we've actually more developed than the science fiction of the day thought we would get to. We're going to get to the point where all of this stuff is old hat. And this looks like the giant supercomputers that sent man to the moon. And this will look like your big box TVs that were in black and white. This is going to be that kind of technology. And I can't fathom what that is going to look like. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to keep up with that. But I'm going to have to try. But at the same time, I've got to try and shut out the noise of the stuff that doesn't matter to me and focus on the stuff that does, as regarding technology. Because I can't go through life and not try and keep up to date, because otherwise I'll end up out of touch, and that's going to become a bit of a problem in the long run, because I've got the rest of life to look forward to, and if not me, then someone else has a whole, like, another 70 years of this that they've got to live through, and that's 70 years of development. 70 years ago, it was 1954, right? That is a long time ago. That's an incredibly long time ago. And 70 years from now, it's going to be the year 2094. The same stretch of time, right? And what's going to be the technology in 2094? I couldn't fucking tell you. No one could tell you. And if you're watching this in the year 2094, then look at the thing you're watching this on and go, oh yeah. Maybe you're watching it like through your eyes, and your eyes have screens in them. Or maybe it's like you can taste the video, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're fully immersed in this thing and like AI has like extrapolated this entire world, and you can jump into my world and see what's going on over there, and you can just walk around. And they've managed to take Google Maps Street View and turn it into something that's applicable in every single place, and every single house, on every single street, in every single country, is completely accessible, and everything can be seen by everybody. Maybe that's what people mean when they say privacy is dying, and maybe by the time that I'm 90, there will be no such thing as privacy anymore. Or maybe it will go completely the other way around, and there'll be some kind of privacy revolution, and everyone will become completely shut in, and no one will really talk to each other. Maybe it will go so far the other extreme. I don't know. I really don't have a clue. But I just know that I've got to keep up. I've got to keep up with what's going on, because if I don't, then I'm just gonna be... You see wretched, like, people that are just like really miserable and just like moaning about the modern world and all this sort of stuff, and you just look at them and you're like, oh, come on, the modern world's not that bad. Like, I know I'm going to be doing it. I'm going to be moaning about the politics of the day in the year 2070, and my grandkid will go, Granddaddy, can you stop bitching and moaning, please? And I'll be there like, yeah, but you don't understand what it was like in my day. Back in my day, we had to, like, I don't know, we had to make YouTube videos for a living. or whatever, I don't know. Or, you know, we had to actually work and graft. But then, you know, people for me now are saying the same thing. And then I bet people back then, their grandparents or their great-grandparents were saying the same thing, and so on and so forth, back through the ages. So people don't change, it's just the circumstances change. Like, would I be the same person 100 years ago? Obviously slightly different based on the context around me. I would talk a little bit different. I would use the mannerisms of the day. That's another thing. Language is going to change. Like, you know, all the slang, I'm going to be stuck saying sick. Sick is a very 2010s sort of thing. Like, am I going to be saying, oh, that's sick, fam? I mean, I don't really use that kind of, but I kind of started using it ironically. Oh, that's sick, fam. Yeah, cuz. You know, I kind of, you start saying it ironically, and then you start saying it just as you're saying it, and then you get bored of it, and then you move on to the next thing. You know, am I going to be still saying those sort of words in the year 2070? Because back then they'll have new words that'll make skibbity look like, ooh, good gracious, I can't think of any slang from the 1950s right now. Rubber Johnny, Rubber Johnny, Rubber Ducks. I don't know what I'm fucking saying at this point. Look, I think the video's over. I think there's nothing else to really add. Just try and stick to the bits of information that are kind of important with regards to new technology that's coming in. At some point there'll be a new revolutionary kind of thing like a smartphone. Eventually you'll have to adopt it, and then there'll be a new thing and a new thing, and like, just accept it, because if you don't and you try and Luddite yourself, then you're just going to end up miserable, and you're going to end up behind the times, and then you'll be out of touch with the rest of your community, and it'll make it harder for you to make new connections with others. So yeah, that's going to be everything from me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of the day. I know it was a little bit rambly. I feel like I made the same kind of few points a few times, but you know, it's a quite an abstract topic, the future, because it doesn't exist technically. Like, 1 second from now is always the future, right? It's the same way that 20,000 years from now is always the future. The only difference is that 1 second updates. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh. So yeah, isn't it crazy that we've got phones like this? Look at that. Mad, isn't it? Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about analysis paralysis, which is this term that I heard about recently that I kind of resonated with, which basically means when you're trying to figure something out and you kind of get yourself frozen and locked down from just the working itself out, and you never actually make a decision. Like, for instance, you ever sort of try and figure out what kind of takeaway you want to get? Say you're getting a takeaway, right? That's a fair bit of money, right? So you want to make sure you kind of choose correctly, you know? So you really don't want to end up with a curry that you really don't like, or like a pizza that comes like really like sort of greasy and nasty. So you're kind of a little bit worried that you're going to get the wrong thing, and that can kind of lead you to sort of deliberating, like, oh yeah, well the cheese one's that, it's kind of got that, and there's a little side bonus to that, and I look at the reviews of that and people say that one's kind of good. But then this vegetable one also has some good reviews, and it kind of looks like it'll be a little bit more interesting, or like, oh, but yeah, then there's a pepperoni one, and I do like a bit of a pepperoni, so, oh, but then do I want to take the risk on it, because it might be one of those places where it does too much pepperoni and there's too much grease on the entire thing, and that ruins the cheese. And so you end up thinking about this stuff for so long that the takeaway place shuts, and then you can't get anything. So that's something that happens all throughout life. Apparently it's something that's very specific to people with ADHD, but I'm not talking about it from the lens of a particular mental illness or anything like that. I'm just talking about it in life in general, because we all get that paralysis for choice when we're, you know, looking at the menu in a restaurant, or maybe we're looking at what to buy in the supermarket, or maybe we're figuring out what car we want to get, or what camera equipment we want to buy, all these kind of things. So all of these choices, and too much choice can stunt you and make you sort of think, hang on, how are you gonna figure this one out? Because there's so many choices here, and you've got to choose one of them, and you want to make sure you choose the best one. It's like when I was trying to figure out what camera I wanted to buy. I went through so many options. I looked at Sony, I looked at Panasonic, I looked at Fujifilm, I looked at Nikon, I looked at Canon, and I looked at so many, right? And you know, I went back and forth, going through the reviews of this, comparing it to the specs of this, going through this, figuring out, this one has built-in ND filters, but this one has inbuilt stabilization. What do I want? What's more important to me? I can't get both, because that would require increasing my budget to something I can't afford. So I had to pick something, But you know what I ended up doing? I picked the Canon C100 Mark I, and it certainly wasn't the thing that any review told me to get. It wasn't the one that was the highest spec. It wasn't the one that was had all the best features. It had a few things that I thought would be useful to me, and that was all I really needed. So I went for it, and I have not looked back since. I love this camera with all my heart. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of equipment, and I think I made the right choice. But that's not to say that in an alternate reality, where maybe I chose the Panasonic GH5, maybe I'd be sitting here and you'd be watching this video with a bit more of a vivid color scheme and a bit more contrast, sort of thinking the exact same thing, that I wouldn't have had it any other way, and I would never have gotten a Canon something or a Sony something. You know, like, the choice you make, you end up owning that decision. And I think that's the way of overcoming analysis paralysis. Is you've got so many decisions to make, some of them are going to be wrong, but own your decisions, even if they're wrong. Like, for instance, when I used to direct film sets, and I still do direct film sets obviously, but not to the same scale as I was doing before. When I was directing really big film sets, you'd be doing sets where, you know, you're in charge of like a couple dozen people. And what it is every sort of 20, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, every minute, let's say, you get asked a question and you need to respond to that question with an answer. So you need to figure out an answer every minute. And sometimes I said the wrong answer, and that caused a little issue down the line. But if I was to sit there and deliberate over all of these questions and take all that time, that would have caused a worse outcome than if I just made a couple wrong decisions. So you're going to make wrong choices. The analysis paralysis is there as an anxiety preventative measure to stop you from making the wrong decision. But you know what, if it's not, you know, like life-changing financial stuff, if it's not something that's super duper important like that, you can make the wrong decision and not really worry about it so much. Like with those little creative decisions, sometimes I look back at the footage and I think, oh, I wish I'd done it that way instead of this way, but I did do it this way. So own the fact that I did it that way and continue to build the film based off of that previous decision. And that's kind of what I did. And I think that's the way that you end up coming out with a more cohesive product, rather than trying to strive for perfection and fail because you get stunted by the overwhelming amount of decisions that there are to make. You've got so many decisions that you're going to have to make through life, and you can't always make the right ones. Sometimes you're going to choose wrong. Sometimes you're going to do something that you look back on and go, why the fuck did I do that? That was stupid. That was really, really stupid of me. And that's going to happen no matter what, no matter how much you deliberate, no matter how much you allow the analysis paralysis to take you over, and no matter how much you know, try and account for every variable. Nothing is going to prevent a wrong decision, because sometimes that's just what's going to happen at the end of the day. So that's essentially my message is, if you do suffer from analysis paralysis, obviously you can't just turn it off, right? I can't just turn mine off, and I fall victim to it. Most recently, it's been with editing day 5 of this Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, where it's a bit of a different type of edit that I need to do. And so I've been putting it off. And so when I get back today, I'm going to just sit down and just edit it, and fuck the analysis paralysis, fuck the idea that I might not make all the right decisions with regards to the edit. Because you know what, that's not an important decision, those little editing decisions like that, because I can change them again. It's not a permanent thing. So I don't need to worry about it. All that's important is getting stuff done, making the decisions, rather than trying to make the right decisions. I would rather make 100 decisions than make one. Even because what's going to end up happening is I'm not going to get all those 100 decisions right. You know, I'll probably get some of them wrong, but there's no guarantee that I'll make that one decision correctly either. It's just not going, that's not the way the world works. So that's essentially all I have to say. So thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it, hope you managed to get something from it. And if you do suffer from analysis paralysis, particularly if you come from more the actual ADHD space of things, I'd like to hear your perspective on this topic from the actual, maybe not necessarily the medical point of view, but you know, the general point of view of actually having ADHD. And you know, I mean, I suspect I've got ADHD, but I don't want to get it diagnosed personally. I'm not going to do anything like that. I don't think it would be anything useful for me. But if it was useful for you, and you managed to get something out of it, and you've thought about this concept, analysis paralysis, before, please let me know what you make of this. And if you have anything to add to the conversation, please do. We might make another video on this at some point. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this. Have a good rest of the day. Take care, and bye-bye. I was going to do like a sliding down thing, but it's not really working. So See ya. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about overwhelming positivity. Now, there's a lot of YouTubers, creators, people out there that will try to spread positivity, and I feel like I'm becoming one of those people. And I feel like, yeah, positivity is a really great thing, obviously. We all want to feel positive, we all want to spread positivity, we all want everyone to be as happy as possible in general, right? But say you're going through a hard time at the moment. Do you listen to Happy by Pharrell Williams, or do you listen to Cigarettes After Sex? I imagine you probably, even if you don't like Cigarettes After Sex, it's not about whether you like these songs, but it's about the general vibe of both of them. Do you want the happy thing or do you want the sad thing, right? If you're down, you want to be down with something that will validate your misery in that exact moment. You don't want to just sort of be force-fed this overly positive ideal, right? And I feel like there's plenty of YouTubers out there that will do nothing but just spread positivity constantly. And I sometimes wonder, what are they like in real life? Because I can't imagine they are actually like that all the time, that they never get sad, that they never have moments of cynicism, that they never have moments where they just want to fucking just tell the world to fuck off, you know? And that kind of thing. And we all have that. We all have moments where we just want to shut ourselves away from the world. We all have moments where we want to embrace everything and embrace the positivity. And I don't think you should try and force yourself to be one thing or the other. And if you're going to force yourself to be one thing, I suppose be this one, the positive one, rather than the negative one. But you know, we're always being dragged down anyway by the state of the world. I mean, I think everyone, no matter where you are, say on this political spectrum that's become a thing, right? No matter where you are on it, we all agree that the world is generally a little bit fucked, right? And what are we to do about it? Are we going to just sit here and be miserable about it? Or are we going to try and just make ourselves feel a little bit happier? Because I feel like the default is to be slowly bringing yourself down from happiness. And happiness actually takes effort to achieve. That's why there's so many positive influencers out there that try and spread, you know, be happy, go out there and do stuff, you know, engage in your community, get out of the house and engage in stuff, eat healthily and stuff, all this kind of thing. And it's really good that people are out there reminding you to do that. But say you subscribe to one of these sort of things because you need some self-improvement, you need some motivation and that kind of thing. And maybe you watched a few of their videos in one night where you really needed that motivation, and you watched like 5 of these person's videos and they really inspired you, right? But then it just keeps going and going, and they're just forcing this fucking positive message down your throat. And eventually you're just like, can you shut the fuck up about positivity for 1 second, please? Because I've had it. I've had enough positivity, right? I can't deal with any more, because we can't all be super happy all the time. And I think anyone that tries to project themselves as being happy all the time, there's got to be something to it. There's got to be, maybe they're actually a bit of a bastard. Maybe there's something that's maybe a little bit wrong with them. Maybe, I don't know, that there's just some issue out there that you just sort of think, Jesus, it can't be like this all the time with you, surely, because it's just exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting, because imagine that you were happy all the time. Imagine you never felt sad. Imagine, say you're depressed, your depression's gone, your anxiety's gone, every mental health issue that you might have is gone, any physical health issue you've got is completely restored, and you're just at absolute peak happiness all the time, right? You're just at the 100% energy, full, everything's going well, non-stop, right? You're in basically heaven on earth, right? Do you think that you're going to remain at that same level of positivity and happiness the entire time for the rest of your life now that you've hit this baseline? I don't think you are. I think what's going to happen is, because you have the down times in your life and then you have the up times in your life, it's the contrast and the difference between the good and the bad that makes the good feel so much better and makes the bad feel a little bit more tolerable, right? Because say if you were happy all the time, you would forget what happiness means, and you would just become sort of ambivalent. Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. Are you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Are you happy? Yeah, I'm happy. Well, oh, great, we're all fucking happy. Well, whoop-de-doo. What are we going to do then? Well, you know, we'll all come together and sing Kumbaya forever, all right? And sure, it'd be nice to do that once in a while, right? But eventually, we've sung Kumbaya 5 times now. Can we sing something else, please? And it would kind of be like that. You would just get sick of the endless positivity. And I feel like what's happening with this Jonny Mozza channel at the moment is I'm noticing that the positive message sort of videos are the ones that seem to be doing the best, and people take all this inspiration from them and motivation from them, and I'm really super happy about that. And I get such a kick out of seeing the comments and scrolling through the comments. I try and read every single comment. I think I do still read every comment. And you know, I don't want to be a positivity influencer. I don't want to be someone that just sits there and just tells you to be happy even though you're not. Because what good is me telling you to be happy gonna do if you're not happy at this moment, and there's nothing that you can do in this moment to make you happy? Because maybe what makes you unhappy is the fact that you've just been fired from your job, and you know your rent is due, and you feel like you're going to get kicked out of your house. How can you just walk through every day and just be happy and content in that? Because you can't. You're stressed out. Stress is an inherently negative thing. But I think you need a level of negativity. I'm not saying, by the way, you need to get kicked out of your house, but I'm saying sometimes you need a bit of negativity to make the positivity feel that much more positive, right? And you need the positivity to make the negativity feel that much less negative, right? And I feel like if you can go through life and have a good balance of both, you have really good times. Jesus Christ. Sorry, there's some kids behind the camera with a dead rat. Is that a dead rat? It looks like a dead rat. I mean, they are super happy about it. Oh, there we are. You know, the laughter of children is meant to make something that makes you happy, but it's bloody quite irritating at the moment, because I'm trying to record a video here, so that's a negative little thing right there. Even though children laughing, that's meant to be a super happy thing. That's meant to be like one of the nicest things ever, isn't like the laugh of a newborn meant to be the most beautiful sound in the world? And it's like, say you worked in the maternity ward and you just heard the sound of a baby laughing all the fucking time. You'd get so sick of it. You just get bored of the sound. It would just become white noise to you. It would just become like this, oh God, can this baby stop? Like, yeah, it's a positive thing. But because you've got so much of this positive thing, it feels wrong to shut out some of it. But you can't take it all in. You can't take in positivity all the time. You can't always be a super positive person. I'm not saying this at the moment because I'm not currently happy. I'm actually the happiest I've ever been. But I feel like you need the balance. You need the highs and you need the lows. And you need the lows to make the highs feel that much bigger, because you need to have the view. If everything was just high, then everything is at the same surface level. So everything is just like that, right? So if everything was at like the peak of Mount Everest, then the sea level is that high. That means everything is just this flat plain. And then what is there to look at? Just an endless flat landscape. Brilliant. How inspiring that is, right? You need a few of the peaks and you need a few valleys so that the valleys can be that much more beautiful and so that the peaks can look that much more grand from afar. Right? So that's kind of the overall thing that I'm trying to get with this video, is that I understand that positivity is absolutely like necessary, and sometimes we need to try and force ourselves to be a bit positive. Sometimes, you know, we need to put our happy face on and go out into the world and try and be happy. Sometimes we need to do that. Sometimes, though, we need to just allow ourselves to be sad, and that's okay. It's fine to be whatever emotion it is that you are, because no matter what you feel at the moment, it's valid, because if you can't stop it, then it's valid, because you're trying your best, and that's the key. As long as you keep trying and don't just give up, you'll be all right. So thank you very much for watching this video. Sorry about this, and yeah, hope you have a good rest of the day. No, it's all right. You actually helped for the point of the video. They didn't hear that, but they'll hear it maybe in the future. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Take care. Or have a bad rest of the day, if that's how you want to feel. Hey up, everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about marketing, particularly marketing if you're a very small YouTube channel, musician, creator. You know, you've got a couple followers, maybe 100 subscribers or whatever, you're getting maybe 200 views on a video, whatever, that kind of thing. You're not big, you haven't got a proper audience that's retained from video to video, that kind of thing, and you're trying to establish a community and some kind of following for the sake of the things that you want to make, whether that be YouTube videos, whether that be films, whether that be music, whether that be books or anything. Maybe you want to do self-help, maybe you want to be some kind of motivational guide, maybe you're trying to start some kind of yoga thing, like live streams where you do yoga, stuff like that. There's all sorts of ways that you can turn what you do in real life into something that you do on the internet. And that's kind of what people do now in the sort of the 2010s and the 2020s. We're trying to get onto the internet and trying to monetize our lives on the internet. And something I notice with a lot of small creators, and I myself have been guilty of this, you go onto, say, like at their Reddit page or whatever, and they're just spamming their new video onto every single subreddit that they can possibly find. And these are subreddits that no one's using. These subreddits are just bins for people to post their stuff in. No one's actually going on them to try and find new material. No one's actually engaging with this stuff as a viewer. It's all content creators spamming into the void for the sake of other content creators to kind of go, oh, look at that thumbnail, whatever, and then scroll down, because they are more interested in promoting themselves than seeing you. You need to find spaces where people are actively looking for content to watch that can engage them, that relates to them, that engages them and their personality and what they want out of something. So I feel like you should try and work smarter and not harder with regard to this sort of thing. You don't need to post in every single subreddit. You don't need to post on every single Facebook page. You don't need to post on, I don't know, whatever Twitter has. You don't need to do this quite so much. What you should instead focus on is refining your own style, your image, your general brand, because we all have a bit of a personal brand that we do have. I have made a video about how I don't like the fact that we all have personal brands, but we do, and it's something that we kind of have to live with. And as long as you can try and make something interesting out of that is the real you, that feels true to yourself and true to your own image, then people will generally come along if you're providing something of worth to them. And it's just about trying different things until you make that. Have you ever found, if you're making, say you're making videos or whatever, just as an example, say you make videos and you're making, I don't know, Let's Plays, right? You make loads of Let's Plays, you made hundreds of Let's Plays, you're getting 20 to 30 views on each one. You maybe get a couple comments every 3 or 4 videos. You're doing okay, you know, but it's clear, it's still just a hobby, it's still just something, and you know, it's going to remain a hobby even if you still get like a few thousand views or tens of thousands of views. Don't get me wrong, it's not like you're going to just change your life overnight. But what is interesting is if you put out a new kind of video, you try something new, that generally has a chance at doing really well. I've got a friend who he was making videos for about 3 years, and it was just the sort of videos that he really wanted to make. He made whatever he wanted, right? And when XXXTentacion died, he got really, really inspired to make a documentary about his life. And he made the documentary, it was a 40-minute documentary, he made it in about 3 weeks. He made it really quick, and he spent all day and night because he was so dedicated to this idea. And when it came out, and this was something totally different, this was quite a serious thing, and generally before he was doing very light-hearted comedic things, this was quite a serious project. Very down to earth and very somber and very dry. And when that came out, that did extremely, extremely, extremely well. First, it got posted on a couple subreddits like the XXXTentacion subreddit, maybe the Hip Hop Heads subreddit, a couple others. And it started off there, and then the algorithm picked it up from there, and it ended up getting about 1 million views, something like that. And then from there, he made another documentary off the back of that about Little Peep. And that documentary did extremely well as well. And he managed to get quite a large following out of trying something new. So I think if you're not finding success at what you're doing at the moment, just try something new. It's not about having to, because it's not the idea that, you know, you're doing exactly something right now, you just need to pump it out further and further to more people. You might be doing something wrong, but you don't actually know it yet until you find what you're doing that is correct. I've done so many YouTube channels at this point. I've tried Let's Plays, I've tried ramblings, I've tried putting on different characters, I've done on the street interviews, I've done films, I've done albums, I've done all sorts of stuff, right? And loads of things haven't worked. And when I found that something hasn't worked, I've kind of moved on to the next thing. So I'll stick with something for a few months, see if it's working, try and develop it, try and figure out the style. And then once I've kind of gotten to that point, I see if it's actually working or not. And if it isn't, I kind of move on, right? With this was just another experiment in my line of experiments. And for some reason, this experiment has worked. People seem to relate to whatever it is I'm saying. They get something out of whatever it is that I'm putting forward to use. And I think if you can just keep jumping from thing to thing, once you see that something's not working, you jump to something else. And if that's not working, you jump to something else, and you keep trying, you know, develop and experiment and try new things, you will eventually find something that really works for you. Just the same way that my friend, he was doing stuff, and it wasn't even that like he wanted to stop doing that. He just tried a different experiment and it really worked. And I find that whenever I try something a little bit weird, it tends to be the thing that does really well. So don't be afraid of trying the weird stuff, because it's the weird stuff that will end up getting really big, inevitably. It's always the thing that you don't expect that will be the thing that does really well. The thing that you put your heart and soul and all your time and effort into, you might put thousands of hours into this one singular project, and then it comes out to crickets, right? But then you might spend a few hours on just something off the cuff and just really quite simple and just, you know, just true from the heart. You put that out, and then that does really well. And if you find something that's working, just keep doing it until it stops working, is kind of my philosophy regarding it. And I think in terms of trying to get your stuff out there for any small creators or anything that are watching this, I think if what you're doing at the moment isn't working for you, and it's not been working for you for a while, I mean, don't they say the whole definition of insanity is like a very cliche quote, but the definition of insanity is you're trying something again and again and again, the same thing again and again, and expecting different results. And it is a cliche saying, but I suppose there is kind of a truth to it, in the fact that what are you expecting to happen? If you keep doing the same thing, like say you're doing Let's Plays, are you expecting that by the time you've done your 1000th Let's Play video, that then you'll have gotten your audience? That then you will have gotten the views and the things that you're actually hoping for? Probably not. It's probably not going to happen, right? Because I feel like what's interesting about the nature of the internet and the algorithms and the way that things spread now in terms of artistic works and general creative sort of projects and so on, I think what works is the spontaneity of it and the fact that it feels genuine, rather than, because as you do something more and more and more, you kind of commodify it over time, and you slowly industrialize the process, and you figure out exactly how you're going to do it, and everything becomes perfect. In fact, I've been a little bit worried that with these videos, now that I've got like I'm not saying I've got a following, like a proper one, but I've got like, I notice the same few people in various videos on the comments. I see the same people coming back and back, and I really love that. I do really love that. But I semi-worry that it's not quite the same as when I had absolutely no following. Maybe I was more genuine then than I am now, right? And maybe I'll get less genuine as time goes on. But I think possibly that's a worry that I don't need to have, because think about it like this, right? If you're going out there and just take what I'm doing, right? I just go around wherever I happen to be at that moment and just sit down. I'm sat at a bench right now, and this camera's just sat on another bench over there, just filming me doing this. And I've got the phone right here. It's not exactly a proper setup, you know. There's no one else out here with me. There's not like a cameraman or anything. It's not like I've got all the resources in the world. So I'm still very, very low to the ground. And I want to try and stay like that for as long as possible. I'd like to be doing this exact same style of video if I had 1 million subscribers, right? Or whatever, you know. I wouldn't want to dude perfect myself and get like a big crew that follow me around and go, hey guys, oh yeah, today we're going to be going down here. Massive text on the walls, massive text popping up in your face, sound effects, boom, boom, boom. All of that sort of stuff. No, thank you. I'd rather keep everything nice and simple, naturalistic, and just like this, because whatever this is working. And you know, the whole thing of like you're trying the same thing again and again and expecting different results. I like the results of this that come from this, so I am going to keep trying this again and again. And I'll make videos about various things. I've been thinking about making a video about Christmas, because it's Christmas period. So after this video, I'm going to go. There's a Christmas tree way down there. So the next video, I'm going to go down to the Christmas tree and I'm going to film there. So I feel like with regard to yourself and with regard to the things that you're making and trying to promote them and all that sort of stuff, it's not about whatever Facebook page you post it on. If you post on some Facebook page and you get like 10,000 likes or whatever, that's going to dribble back down to, say, if it's coming from YouTube and you've posted it on Facebook, it's going to dribble down by a rate of like 0.1%. Now, if that's 10,000 people, that's, I think, 10 people. So that's 10 followers out of that one thing. So then say you do this 100 times and you get really lucky with it 100 times, okay? That's 1,000 people, okay? I think that's rubbish, because how long is it going to take you to get 100 Facebook posts that do that well, that do those numbers? That is going to take you years, right? I've been posting stuff on all these stupid pages for years, and the most I've ever gotten is about 20 likes. I remember I did an analysis of the film 2012, right? And I posted it on the r/movies subreddit. I got, I think, 300 upvotes or something like that. That equated to about 15 hours watch time. That equated to about 2,000 views. The average audience retention was god awful. It was like 45 seconds, because the people that come from Reddit are clicking on it out of a mild curiosity. They're not that bothered about it compared to if they click it from YouTube when they're already in the YouTube sphere of influence and in the YouTube watching mode. So the views that come from YouTube directly, from like suggested videos or browse features or whatever. Browse features, by the way, is basically like the homepage of YouTube. The views that come from that, the audience retention from those things is much, much higher than from external factors. So really, and because audience retention is one of the most important things that YouTube looks at in regards to whether your video is worth promoting further, right? So if you're posting on all these various subreddits and all these things, and you're doing really well and you're getting like 300 upvotes, 400 upvotes, whatever, and then people come on and they watch it for 45 seconds. YouTube sees that as your video not being worth their time, and they're gonna shut it down. They're gonna stop the impressions. You'll notice that the impressions will spike up like that from an external point, and then it will flatline, okay? And you might get a tiny, like 1 or 2 like views a day after that fact. So that's not a long-lasting video in terms of what you're actually trying to do. I feel like what would be more important is, instead of focusing on your external marketing, is instead focus on the internalities of your creation. What makes it worth someone else's time? Think about the videos that you like. Why do you like them? What draws you to them? When you see the thumbnail, what makes you want to click it? The combination of the title and the thumbnail and the text on the thumbnail, all these various things. Think about how it draws you in and try and replicate variations of that from the people that you are influenced by and apply it to your own creations. And that way you will do a lot better than if you waste your time spamming your content out to all these subreddits, to all these people who don't give a shit about you, generally to other people who are just doing the exact same thing, that are blasting themselves out. They don't care about you, they care about themselves, and they might leave a little thing saying, "Oh, great vid!" exclamation mark. They can leave that comment without even watching the video. They don't need to watch the video. They're just trying to give the impression that they did so that you might go and watch their thing. It's impressions at the end of the day. So if you can get impressions from an internal thing, on, say if you're posting on YouTube, you want internal views from YouTube rather than from outside of it, okay? Now that's not to say never post like something on a subreddit or anything like that, but do it wisely. If you've got a video for a specific topic in mind, and make a video with a specific subreddit in mind or a specific forum in mind, that tends to work quite well, at least in my experience. Like, I remember I made, when Transformers 5 came out, I was really stupid. I was really into the Michael Bay Transformers for some god unknown reason, right? And I was on this Transformers forum that they were giving updates on the filming of Transformers 5 the last night. And you know, oh, they're filming the pterodactyl scene, or they're filming some chase scene in central London with Lamborghinis and all this sort of stuff. So I posted a video essay about Transformers and the nature of marketing, and how Transformers as a franchise managed to use marketing to market what are quite bad films, and how they managed to do so successfully. And I posted that on that forum, and I got pretty decent watch time out of that, because I'm posting it to a forum of people who already inherently care about the topic at hand. So work wisely. I posted on one forum and I got a higher success rate because I did it wisely, rather than spamming it out to every single movie forum that I could possibly find, because some random person on some random movie forum isn't going to care about some random Transformers analysis that some nobody has made, okay? Because it means nothing to them. It means nothing to other people the way that it means something to you. So if I could leave you with any kind of message, it's, don't worry so much about the marketing, because if you're making something that's worthwhile, people will hop on board, and find smart ways of marketing yourself and promoting yourself rather than just spamming your stuff out there, because you will get much better results. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Please leave some comments in the description below about how you've done some fun things with marketing. Maybe give away your trade secrets, right? And let us all know, and we can kind of like pass information, you know, back and forth to one another about how these sort of things work, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, etc., etc. Be fun to start a discussion about that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care, everybody, and bye bye. Yeah. There are videos here, by the way, so click them. This one's better.